In the early 1950s, doctors believed they were saving lives. They trusted science. They trusted progress. But decades later, survivors would discover something horrifying. They were never patients. They were experiments. And the worst part, no one asked for their consent. What you're about to hear is not science fiction. It's not conspiracy. It's the true story of how modern medicine, by mistake, by arrogance, and by silence, turned millions of human beings into living test subjects. And once it started, there was no way to stop it. After World War II, medicine entered what historians now call the golden age of science. Antibiotics were saving lives. Vaccines were erasing diseases. Hospitals were becoming symbols of hope. Doctors were no longer just healers. They were heroes, and heroes were rarely questioned. Back then, most patients believed one thing without doubt. If a doctor says it's safe, it must be. That blind trust would change everything. It began with a simple idea, a treatment meant to help. Doctors were searching for ways to prevent disease, calm mental illness, protect unborn babies, reduce pain, improve recovery. So they tried something new. A chemical, a drug, a therapy. Early tests looked promising. No immediate deaths, no visible side effects. So doctors made a decision that would echo for generations. They skipped long-term testing, because at the time, no one thought long-term damage was possible. They were wrong. Years passed. Children were born. Patients went home. Records were filed away. Then, strange things started happening. People reported uncontrollable tremors, memory loss, developmental delays, chronic pain with no cause, sudden personality changes, infertility, birth defects. Doctors dismissed them. It's stress. It's genetic. It's in your head. But the symptoms weren't random. They followed a pattern. And that pattern pointed back to the same treatments administered years earlier. Some of the most tragic victims were children. Born perfectly normal, then slowly, they began to change. Parents watched helplessly as their kids stopped speaking, lost coordination, developed seizures, failed to grow properly, showed signs of premature aging. Doctors blamed parenting, schools blamed learning disabilities. No one suspected the truth, because the cause wasn't visible under a microscope. It was buried in medical history. The truth stayed hidden for decades, until one researcher made a mistake. While reviewing old hospital archives, they noticed something strange. Patient groups, same treatments, same timelines, same symptoms. It wasn't coincidence, it was correlation. And buried deeper in the files was something terrifying. The treatment was never approved for widespread use. It was experimental, and doctors knew. When confronted, many doctors said the same thing. We didn't know. And in some cases, they were telling the truth. Medical knowledge was limited. Ethics were poorly defined. Regulations barely existed, but ignorance didn't undo the damage. Entire communities had been exposed. Entire generations affected. Without consent, without warning, without follow-up. Here's the most disturbing part. Once the pattern became clear, institutions stayed silent. Why? Because admitting the truth meant lawsuits, loss of public trust, collapse of medical authority, global panic. So reports were buried, data was reclassified, studies were shut down, Patients were left alone with their suffering, and science moved on. Decades later, survivors began connecting. Support groups formed, stories matched, symptoms aligned. People realized something horrifying. They weren't sick by chance. They were part of an uncontrolled experiment. One survivor said, "We were never meant to live long enough to notice." Eventually, the evidence became impossible to ignore. Governments acknowledged medical errors. Hospitals issued vague apologies. Compensation programs were quietly launched. But no one used the word experiment, because calling it that would mean admitting something unforgivable. That medicine, designed to heal, had crossed an ethical line. Even today, the consequences remain. Some survivors can't work, can't have children, can't live independently, suffer neurological damage with no cure. And the worst part, doctors still don't fully understand what went wrong. Because the experiment was never designed. It happened by accident. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Modern medicine still relies on emergency approvals, fast-track trials, limited long-term data. History tells us something chilling. Every medical disaster began with good intentions, and every time, the warning signs were ignored. So ask yourself this: if doctors once created a generation of human experiments by mistake, what might we be living with today that we won't understand for another 50 years? Because history doesn't repeat itself quietly. It repeats itself silently. The most dangerous experiments in history were never conducted in secret laboratories. They happened in hospitals, with consent forms no one understood, by doctors who believed they were doing the right thing. And by the time the truth was discovered, an entire generation had already paid